And she joins me right now to talk about the new show debuting on the CW network tomorrow. That's Thursday, October the 6th. It's called Walker Independence. And the star joins me right now, Katherine McNamara. Katherine, how we doing? Or is it Kat? Can I call you Kat? Is that all right?
Absolutely.
How we doing, Kat?
I'm doing great. We've got a little bit of rain here in Santa Fe, so I have some time on set to chit chat, and I'm so excited to talk to you about the show.
I know. Here we are. This is Walker Independence. Okay, me being a native Texan, of course, Walker runs through the veins of this entire state. We've loved the new rendition on the CW, but this is more of an origin story for kind of Walkers and Texas all together. Tell me a little bit about what the show exactly is for people who don't know.
Absolutely. So Walker Independence follows the story of the first Walker in Texas, Abigail Walker, which is the character that I play. You know, I thought at this point in my career, I didn't think I'd be playing someone's great, 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 great grandmother, but here we are. But it's such a great look at the origins of the Walker legacy in Texas, but also a peek into a new kind of Western and hopefully what we are trying to create as a more historically accurate version of 1870s Texas than you've seen in most other instances.
Absolutely. And, I mean, I'm a big history buff. Obviously, I have the Texas connection. But this show, I got to watch the first episode. Within 3.5 minutes, you're all the way in. Like in the first 3.5 minutes, you're hooked. You have to see the show through. So credit to the writing and credit to all the performances thus far. But this is a starring role for you. Like this is your show. This is all about you. This is about your character and your character's journey. That's a huge deal for any actor or actress. How does that making you feel right now? Is pressure on, or have you rose to the occasion?
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, I learned a lot being in a similar position on Shadowhunters, which is a show I did a few years ago. But truly, what this show is about, yes, Abby is the catalyst to the story, and she is the person that you as an audience walk into the world with. But very quickly you fall in love with the whole town of Independence, and really the show becomes about the town and the community and the entire cast of characters that you meet there, which I have to say it's such a joy to be on a show with not only such a huge cast of characters, but with incredible actors that are playing them and bringing such depth and life and richness to each and every one. It brings so much to every moment of the show. I'm so proud of everyone.
I know as an actor, you have to find a way to get into the character's mind and the psyche and kind of walk the mile in the shoes. This being in the 1800s, being in Texas, being something that's not even, actors do period pieces in the 50s. At least there's a lot of material there. There's shows you can watch. There's a frame of reference because it's not so long ago. I mean, this is a very long time ago. What did you do to try to figure out kind of the history and what the pathology of a character like this would be?
Well, I'm a bit of a history buff myself and, grew up playing the Oregon Trail computer game like the rest
Like
of us.
we all did.
But I know how not to die of dysentery, and you always fjord the river. That's just baseline. But when your husband's murdered and your covered wagon burns up in the first 15 minutes, it's a bit of a new starting point. But what's great about this is that I was able to do a bunch of research and read some really wonderful books full of stories of women on the frontier. And what you find is that there's such a tenacity and such a humor to all of these women as they go through this world, which really was difficult at every juncture. And those that survived were those that found a way to find joy in it and find companionship and community. And I think that's the core of what our show is about.
Oh, wow. It's a great answer. And to think about too, obviously we've come a long way in the way that this country and society views and treats women, right? And we're seeing a lot more powerful women cast in today's films and television shows. A lot of women-led shows have been incredible, and they continue to be. But to have a woman at that time, does the show does it dive into that as the series goes, kind of what it meant to be a woman during the 1800s?
Oh, 100%. And that's something that, first drew me to the role is that Abigail, is, as you said in the first 3 minutes, very quickly confronted with a choice. She can either become a victim of her circumstance or choose to find her own independence, for lack of a better word, and start a that is solely hers, even though it might not have been sure that she imagined for herself. And seeing a woman in that time with that level of agency is huge. And it's something that we very rarely get to see as a female led revenge story in the West.
Now, reading up on you before we spoke today, I've always heard of people like this, but I've never gotten to meet one or talk to one. Somebody who was able to graduate early and then go to Drexel University, hard school, by the way, to get into. First of all, you have to be a mastermind to get into Drexel, and then you graduated summa cum laude at 17. Is that true, or is that just internet rumor?
No, that is very true. I am a big old nerd. Before I was an actor, I wanted to be an economist. I wanted to go into developmental economics as a career. And I loved math as a kid, and I had some really incredible teachers that allowed me to go at my own pace and really instilled this love of learning in me. And so quite by accident, graduated high school at 14 and didn't want to stop learning there. So I ended up going to school at Drexel in their business program. They had a program where I could simultaneously work and do, it was a program that was created for people who are working full time. And it was one of the first almost fully correspondence programs for a university in the top 25 business schools. So I was able to do that and still have the flexibility to work and be in the industry and still get my degree in business, which I'm very grateful for because it's served me quite well in this industry.
I mean, but not only to graduate, but to graduate summa cum laude at such a young age. When did the acting bug bite you, though? When did you decide, okay, I am a nerd, I'm a super brainiac, I could probably get any job that I want because I'm Katherine McNamara. But when did you decide I'm going to go into the acting realm? Like that seems to be a big switch.
Yeah, I mean, it was. And certainly, coming from a family of scientists and medical professionals, I was already the black sheep being the economist of the family and the more math, economic, business minded one, as opposed to clinically, scientifically minded rest of my family. But I remember I was a dancer as a kid. And one summer I was the kid who would try anything. So I did a theater show as a favored family friend. They needed a dancer. And I had one of those rare moments of clarity in life. I walked on stage on opening night and something hit me like a brick wall. And I said, wait a minute, this is what I was put on this earth to do. There's nothing I want to do more with my life than tell stories and create characters and be a part of whatever this collective creative magic is that we're doing right now. And ever since, I've never really looked back and been lucky enough, growing up in Kansas City, there's such huge professional theater community there. I was able to sort of, I always say the Kansas City theater community trained me and taught me my work ethic that I then carried with me the rest of my career.
Marshall McLuhan, who is a communications theorist, said that the medium is the message, and the medium that we find ourselves in dictate how we perform in it. You are performed on stage and on screen, of course. People think, oh, acting's acting, but there are a lot of differences to a Broadway show, for say, than a show for the small screen that's single camera, three camera, so on and so forth. You started on the stage, though. Is this correct?
Mhm.
With Catherine Zeta-Jones,
Yeah,
one of the goats, one of the greatest of all time, Catherine Zeta. I mean, you're getting
absolutely.
at a young age to
Absolutely.
work alongside. I mean, this Welsh goddess that was Catherine Zeta-Jones and continues to be. What did you learn from her?
That show was special. It was, my first time leaving home to do a job, and I got to work with her and Angela Lansbury, and then
Angela
they
Lansbury.
left the show, and Bernadette Peters and Elaine Stritch came in. Um, and those four women taught me so much about how to be a leading lady and about how to not only show up every single day. I mean, Elaine was in her mid 90s and doing 8 shows a week. And Angela, sat and talked to me for hours and hours. And Catherine was so gracious. And Bernadette was just this absolute goddess, as you said, that just floated through the theater every night. And getting to see these women who, even at the pinnacle of their careers, were still so kind and giving both creatively and personally, it taught me so much. I'm so eternally grateful to each and every one of them.
That's incredible. But so to go back though, so you were on Broadway, then now you're acting for camera, and the acting for camera different
Mhm.
than the stage. What are the biggest differences in your estimation?
I think the biggest difference is the perspective, really. I mean, there's something to theater that I greatly miss, which is that sort of energy of the audience, the live audience that you get every night, and you get the rush of having to go from point A to point B, and whatever happens in between when the curtain rises and curtain falls, you have to roll with the punches. There's no second take, there's no redo. You just have to make it work. But you get the entire arc of the story and that instantaneous feedback, which is so brilliant. But then when you're on camera, because the camera isn't, the back of a house, it's right next to you. And you can really dive into those details and those intimate moments and find the tiniest little nuances that make the biggest difference. So it's a different beast entirely, but both are so indicative of the kind of story that you're telling. As you said, the medium is the message.
You seem to be very goal oriented. I mean, just and I don't know if that's the case, but just reading about you and having this conversation, you seem to have a checklist. Like, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. What is next? I mean, this is a massive step. I'm not trying to look past Walker Independence, by the way, debuting tomorrow on the CW network. That is October the 6th. Make sure everybody supports it. But what else do you want to do in your career?
A little bit of everything, to answer that broadly. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I love about my job. I get to live a million different lives, and I get to dive into these different worlds and explore them elements. But, you know, as I've worked on so many episodes of television and done a lot of different things, I really have started to think about stepping behind the camera as well. I don't think I'll ever stop creating characters. I'll never stop telling stories from, in front of camera or the stage or whatever it is. That's what started this fire, and that I will always crave. But there's something about when I'm studying directing, for example, getting to tell the story through color or lighting or the way you place a camera or how it moves through a scene and the perspective that you show audience. Just an entire different set of brushes that so exciting. And I think I would have a lot to say as a storyteller in that way as well, or solving problems as a producer, or getting to create a from the ground up writer. These are all things that I'm dying to explore and I'm starting to pick my way through. But that takes a lot more time, so it's coming. But I want to make sure I do it in a way that is going to be really meaningful.
Well, in the interim and in the meantime, we're going to be watching you and everything that goes on Walker Independence. Again, the show debuts. It's going to be it's going to be huge. I already know it. I feel these things. You know what I mean? Especially being a Texan, like, I understand how we think, and I think how the country thinks. So it's going to be a massive show. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today, Katherine. Again, Walker Independence debuts tomorrow on the CW network. Stream it, set your DVRs, do what you need to do. Elevator pitch last time, Katherine. Why should people watch this show?
It's not your mama's Western. So get ready for a brand new ride that will leave you completely baffled and unexpected surprises at every turn.
It's not your mama's Western. That's the best thing I've heard all day. Katherine McNamara, really appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks. Have a great day, Brad.
You too.